Welcome to today's podcast. Oh my gosh, I have such a cool guest for you today. It is Laila Ali. Yes, the Laila Ali. This is the daughter of the greatest, Muhammad Ali. And she is also a boxer, 4 times worldwide winner. And you're going to hear today that story, which is, I've known Laila now for a year plus, I think, but I never knew this story. It's pretty interesting. So I'm excited to share Laila with you. She is now, besides being a total entrepreneur, she is a fitness and wellness expert, a TV host, and an author of 2 books. The latest one is Food for Life, and it is, you're going to be drooling, mouth-watering, literally, as you're listening to this. So I'm excited to share Laila with you. And we are also going to be sharing some recipes with you. You're going to want to grab the show notes today and get in the kitchen immediately. So you're going to want to go to jjvirgin.com/Laila, and you're going to be able to grab some of her favorite recipes. She kind of talks about a couple of them on the show. I'm like, all right, give us that one. Give us that one right now, Laila, and some other great tips on how to make food fast and easy. All right, Laila Ali, welcome to the show. I am so glad you're here with me today.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I am good. I am just excited because one of these is we're actually going to meet in person. I think it's so funny that we were supposed to, all these times supposed to be together, and we're still like phone friends, but exactly. I'm determined one of these days. And I am super excited about having you on the show because you are just such an amazing role model for so many reasons. I mean, first of all, you were a pro boxer, undefeated with 4 world titles. I mean, that's crazy. And now you're a TV host, you're a fitness and wellness expert, you're a mom. So, I mean, first, let's just kind of dive in. Like, how did you go from pro boxer to now you've got this cookbook coming out, you do TV, like what happened here?
Well, I'll tell you this. I've always been a very ambitious person from the time that I was very young. I remember when I was 15 years old, I told my mom that I want to move out the house by the time I was 18. And she was like, yeah, whatever, Laila, and I devised a plan. So I enrolled myself into beauty school, got a manicuring license. So I was taking the bus after high school to the beauty school way across town, eventually got my license, started doing nails. Yeah, I was a manicurist, and then I had a nail salon by the time I was 18, was out of the house.
Wow. Your own nail salon.
My own salon. So what I did is I had built up a clientele, saved up some money, then I subleased from a hair salon. And I had a space in the back of the salon with a separate entrance and everything, and it was called Laila's Nail Studio. And then I had a couple people working for me. So
at 18.
At 18. Yeah, exactly. So, and I was living on my own and paying my bills and always very independent. So then I saw women's boxing on TV when I was like 19. I turned on the TV to watch Mike Tyson fight. Just a general boxing fan, even though my father was the greatest of all time, didn't know that women's boxing even existed. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, first of all, upset like that I didn't know about it and wanted to do it right away. And it took me about a year of contemplation. Because at the time I was in school and working, I had the nail salon and had plans to expand my business. I'm a planner. So that was like something that I really had to go within and decide, did I want to do this? And I never wanted to live my life publicly either. That's the other thing. So there was some soul searching that I had to do. And then finally I decided to go for it and started training and became a boxer. And I was never an athlete. I know, right? I was never an athlete.
You grew up with it. I really literally never knew this part of your story.
I know. Well, that a lot of people don't know that. They would assume that I was just like daddy's girl in the gym with him, and then all of a sudden I became a boxer. But I never even had the inclination to think to become a boxer until I saw it with my own eyes and saw women doing it with my own eyes. And that's what inspired me.
Wow. And how long did it take you to go from, this idea and getting into the gym to, say, your first match and going pro?
When I started training, I decided to kind of train it was kind of out of secrecy. So I said, I'm just trying to lose weight, and I found a boxing gym on my own. I didn't go to my dad. I didn't go to anybody. One of my clients actually referred me to a gym where she was doing some boxing training, and I got with a trainer, and I would go every day after work and after school. And it was super hard, but I absolutely loved it. So I looked forward to it. It didn't feel like work. And that was like my discovery period of saying, you know what, let me see if I really want to do this, if I really have any talent to do this. And it's probably about 3 months in, I was like, you know what, I really like this. I think I'm gonna go for it. And I started training, but I was still telling everybody I was just doing it to get fit. And then kind of news got around that I was in the ring, actually sparring, fighting, and people started, speculating. And then it got around to my dad, and he came in town and asked me about it and was like, are you boxing? Is that what you're doing? And we had that conversation. So,
well, that conversation, like, was he excited? Was he like upset? What did he want you to do it? What was the deal?
Right. Well, my father really just did not want me to do it, but he was not going to tell me not to do it because he knows me. He knows that he couldn't come at me. So you got to think about how he's going to come at me. So he basically tried to talk me out of it indirectly. He said, well, what are you going to do? With the whole world watching you, there's going to be a lot of pressure on you. And I said, I know, Dad, I thought all this through and I want to do it. And he said, well, what are you going to do if you get knocked down? And I'm like, well, I'm going to get back up just like you did when you got knocked down. And he's like searching hard, like, okay, well, what if you get knocked out? And I'm like, well, I don't think that's going to happen. But if it does, then I'm going to ask for a rematch. And he finally said what was really on his mind after he saw that he just wasn't getting through to me. And he said, it's just too hard. It's not for women. It's not a woman's sport. It's a man's sport. And that's when, I said, look, I understand why you would feel that way, but I'm going to do it anyway. My dad, I'm his youngest girl. There's 9 of us. I'm the youngest of his children. I mean, he has one son that came after me that's adopted, but I'm the youngest of his natural children. And none of us box except for me. So that was just hard for him to deal with. And then, it's scary. You're talking about your daughter being in dirty, grimy gyms, boxing with men,
Yeah. So you did that. You had 4 world titles. I bet he just was so proud of you after all of that went through, right? And now, when I first heard your name, we were going to be on a TV show. We were going to co-host a TV show together. And you transitioned to that and becoming a fitness and wellness expert. I mean, how did you, because I'm sure that you planned it and...
Yeah, right. You know what? That's actually something I didn't plan. So what I have always planned from the time I was very young, and I'm glad that I did, is to follow my heart. So sometimes I don't always have the answers. I don't know exactly where I'm going, but I make decisions according to, obviously I use my, I think and I strategize, but I follow my heart at the end of the day and my intuition. So for me, once I got done finally boxing, and yes, my dad did support me when I started boxing. He was about half of my fights. He had Parkinson's, so he couldn't, always be there. But, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in the ring, and then decided that it was time for me to stop because I want to start a family and do other things. Because like I said, I've always been ambitious. I feel like I have many talents that I could pursue. So as an athlete, you go through a period where you're like, wow, what am I going to do next? I absolutely loved boxing. That's like my first love. And, I said, what am I going to do that I could do that I would do for free if I could, and I absolutely love that won't feel like work the same way boxing didn't to me. And it took me about 5 years to figure that out. So I went on Dancing with the Stars. That was the first thing I did when I stopped boxing. And that was a great platform for me to show a different side of myself, show my personality, because I was a little intimidating to people being that I was a boxer. A lot of people don't necessarily watch women's boxing, even though they know who I was. They hadn't actually seen me fight. So it was a whole new audience for me. And then from there, that's when I started hosting. I did American Gladiators with Hulk Hogan and a bunch of other shows. And I was still trying to figure things out, obviously taking advantage of opportunities that felt right at the time. But it took me 5 years to figure, okay, you know what? I really have a passion for health and wellness, not from a standpoint kind of like you do it, where I'm not an actual nutritionist, but from what I've learned as an athlete and what it takes to be a champion, how important food is as far as being your fuel and your performance and the way that you think and all these things, and just really living a healthy lifestyle. So now that I'm not necessarily competing anymore and I have 2 children of my own, I'm a businesswoman and I'm busy, but I know what it feels like to feel good, look fit, feel healthy. I want to keep that going, and I'm inspired to help other people, attain that in their own lives.
So what is like now that you're here? I know everybody wants to know this. Like, what does she eat? What does she eat?
You know what? I changed
Out
up.
that everywhere, right?
I know. I changed it up, JJ. Let me just first disclaimer. I love to eat. Like eating has always been something that I'm known to be greedy. Like for my husband and my friends, it's like I was that kid that when I was younger, I'd go over to my friends' houses and their parents. Now that I'm a parent, I have to know they have to be like, okay, here comes that Layla because she eats a lot. Like I'd be in people's refrigerator eating up all their food. Like, what snacks do you have? Because we never had good snacks and food in my house. So I'd always be looking forward to going over to my friends' houses. So I'm the same way now. I love food. So I have to be very disciplined and I go through different waves. And thank God I love to work out. But I eat just real whole food and I try to eat as healthy as possible. So, like I post things on my Instagram and my Facebook where I might be making a pot of greens. And sometimes people would think, well, that's not necessarily healthy. Well, the greens themselves are healthy. Now, you go putting ham hock in it and a bunch of other bad oils and seasonings with a bunch of chemicals in them, then it's not anymore. But the way that I make them, I make them in a healthy way. So I take a lot of the foods that I love, I recreate them and make them, healthy for the whole family. So that's pretty much how I eat. I eat clean, lean meats, whole grains. I make sure I have good fat in my meals. I try to reduce the carbs. I recently I was trying the ketogenic diet because I always am trying different things to see what works for me. Because as you know, one thing doesn't work for everybody. And being that I am a boxer and my memory isn't always that great, I read and some research on how the ketogenic diet is good for your brain. So, a lot of the healthy fat. So, but then it just felt to me a little overboard on the fat. So I reduced it. I never follow anything to the T. I will say that. So I kind of take it and modify it to fit my needs.
I think that's one of the key, most important takeaways is get in touch, connect the dots, figure out how it works for you. I know it's like, and we always have the waves, it'll go low fat and now it's high fat and keto. And keto has some amazing therapeutic properties, but boy, I see a lot of people that don't do well with keto. So I'm like, guys,
exactly.
One size doesn't fit all.
Exactly.
So you talked about modifying recipes. I mean, where did you learn to cook in the first place?
I taught myself how to cook. So my mom, and I wrote about this in my book, Reach, Finding Strength, Spirit, and Personal Power. It's the first memoir that I wrote. I actually wrote it when I was 23 and I recently republished it, self-published it. So it's available on Amazon. But I talked about I had a dysfunctional childhood growing up when my parents divorced and my mom pretty much just wasn't really there. So I raised myself, literally, and I had to learn how to cook. I love to eat, like I said. So I'm also a do-it-yourself person. So if I wanted to do something, I'd get in the kitchen and I'd call my grandma sometimes, say, Grandma, how do you make this? And I still do it to this day where I'll just call. I just need to know what ingredients are in it and the basic steps. And then I'll kind of switch it up on my own. And that's how I started cooking. And it's kind of just grown from there. I'm definitely not a chef. Sometimes people make a mistake because I've competed on Chopped and won on the Food Network. And I'm like, oh, no. I am not a chef. I'm just a home cook, but I'm very proud of my cooking. I take a lot of pride in it.
Yeah, but you know what, Layla? That's like so not intimidating because I think most of us, when we think about getting a cookbook from a chef, you're going, oh, now I'm going to be in the kitchen forever, But knowing that you're a mom, you run and own your own business, you work out, you got all this stuff going on. I'm pretty well guessing that these recipes aren't like, okay, now we're going to spend 2 hours.
No, definitely not. I try to think about, all the people who are like me for the most part and have busy lives. We're just trying to get people to cook again. I mean, we are living in a time where everybody wants everything fast. We want convenience, and the big problem is people are eating so much processed food that's not even food. It's like food like, but it's like it's made in a factory, on a bunch of machines. And people need
taking back your health.
Yeah. And I'm like, you got to visualize that. And I am actually a very simple person. Like I don't even always cook the recipes out of my cookbook every day because sometimes I'm like, you know what? I just want to grill a piece of chicken or throw it in the oven and roast some vegetables all at the same time. I don't have time to be chopping up a bunch of ingredients. The main thing is just when you do want to make something, special, or you do want to try something different, that you just have a book that you can open to actually make that happen. And then I also have tips in there for, just making quick, easy meals. Like I'm talking about super quick, like those 4 or 5 ingredients.
A couple tips. Like those are things people always love. And I know that you've got, besides the awesome cookbook everyone's going to want, Food for Life. Love that name. I know we're also going to be giving everyone listening a couple of your favorite recipes from there, but Give us a couple tips for someone, because it's one of the things. Here are two things that drive me crazy, Laila. Number one, it costs more to eat healthy. That drives me absolutely insane. And number two, it takes too long to eat healthy. So bust those ones out and give us a couple tips that people can do to eat healthy fast.
I'll tell you what I do. So for me, yes, it does cost more because unfortunately good quality food and, everything costs more, right? For lots of reasons we don't even need to get into. But what I try to do is I like to, first of all, reduce the amount of meat that I eat, because meat is what costs more, right? Because you're getting organic, free range, good quality, grass.
I got to do a shout out though. If you haven't tried Butcher Box yet, I will hook you up with them.
Oh, I love Butcher Box. No, I love it. I love it.
Like, best thing ever.
Yes. No, I love Butcher Box. Yes, I totally encourage people to check them out because it makes it so much easier. So what I do is I do reduce the portion size of meat that I'm eating. And then I try to buy it from a company like Butcher Box, or buy it, in a large amount and freeze what I need to. You can get it on special, on sale, even when you don't need it at that moment. So it takes a little planning and a little thinking ahead of time, but that's what I do. And then the other thing that I do is I shop at the farmer's market, for my organic ingredients and my produce. And I also will cook a lot of food all at one time. So I'll do my own meal prep. So like for the week, if I know that I'm going to be busy, I might just turn on the oven. I might roast some sweet potatoes, some asparagus, some salmon, some chicken, and have like 4 to 5 days worth food there, and then just throw together a fresh salad. So if I bake a chicken, or if I, roast a chicken, for example, I'll use that chicken for chicken pasta, chicken salad, chicken in my scrambled eggs, whatever it is. So you just have to think of multiple ways to use the ingredients that you're using. So one day of cooking, one day of cleaning up, and you can have all of your meals for the week, with some good planning.
Exactly. That's what we are totally down with too. We have our freezer stuff, just like you talked about. Like, we find great deals, put it in our freezer, and then when you're making protein, if you're making chicken, make a bunch of chicken.
Yep. And just and what I love to do, JJ, like to get my nutrition in, which is a habit I've had for many years, is I have a really good shake in the morning, and I have my green powder in it. I have my protein powder in it, whatever other superfoods, whatever I want to put in it. I like to put maca powder in mine. I've used, turmeric, cinnamon. It depends on what flavor I'm going for, but I always have fresh veggies. I like actually using frozen spinach. Sometimes I switch it up and use kale. If I'm going to put some berries in there, I'll use some low glycemic fruits. It just depends on what I have on hand, but there's always going to be some good fat. There's always going to be protein, green powder, and some frozen veggies in there. So
I'm right there with you. Easiest thing you can do, fast, saves money. Now, you wrote this cookbook. So cookbook is food for life. And you'll definitely want to have this one, grab it, have it in your kitchen. And not only, by the way, am I getting one? I've got getting one because it's not out yet as we're recording this. So I'm hoping you'll send me the pre-copy. But that was big. That was a big hint. My 20-year-old son loves to cook. He actually makes a lot of the recipes for us over here at jjvirgin.com.
Oh, cool.
And I cannot wait to get this for him. Yeah, he's like king of cooking, and he's an athlete, so he will go crazy for this. But what inspired you, with all that you've got going on, as busy as you are, to go and take the time and create this cookbook?
Well, I would say this, I actually, over the years, have been posting recipes. I competed on Chopped. I love cooking, and people know it. And that's what got me thinking. People are like, why don't you do a cookbook? And I was like, oh, I should. Or they'll always say, what's the recipe? Because I'll post things and kind of just say, oh, this is what's in it. But people want the actual recipe, because I'm the type of person, like I said, I'll just kind of see what's in something and I can make it. But then I realized, like, oh, a lot of people really need help with that. So before I came up with the idea to do the cookbook, I wanted to do something more of a motivational book, just to get people to start eating right. And then I thought, you know what? I think the cookbook would actually be better. Let me start with that first, and then I'll circle back around later and do something else. So it was the need for it. It was the want for it. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna make it happen. And I actually did it with a writer. Her name is Lita Shintab, because even though I cook, I'm not a recipe writer, so that's an art in itself. So Lita was amazing to work with. We took a lot of my personal recipes that I've been making for years and actually came up with new recipes together, because I didn't have 120 recipes, which is
I know.
yeah, I got recipes, but not that many. So I had a lot of inspiration recipes. Like I love this cake called sakatimi cake. And I said, Lita, let's make a sakatimi cake, but let's make a healthy version.
What's in that? What's in sakatimi cake?
It's like cinnamon and nuts and vanilla. And I mean, it's amazing. It's like a pound cake kind of. But you know, we didn't use any flour. Like, so all of my recipes.
It's a non-pound cake.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be, well, we use flour, but we use, you know, like almond flour, coconut flour. Yeah. So all of the desserts are actually gluten free. So they're amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. And plus vanilla raises serotonin.
Oh yeah.
Blood sugar. So it is fantastic. And I know people listening, you're going to get some recipes right away. Order the book. You want the book, but you will be able to, in the show notes, we will be giving you some recipes to get started with right away so you can start cooking. Because again, I love the fact that you aren't a chef. Same with me. I'm not a chef either. And I always have to have people help me because I just throw everything in the dish. I'm like, how much was in there? Like, you know,
right.
Yeah, I think we'd cook together and it'd probably be like, you know, we'd have to have someone follow behind us going, okay, that was a cup of that.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I don't pay attention either. But it sounds like you've taken recipes that we all know and love and then made them healthy, because you say delicious and healthy comfort food, which is great because that's what we're all looking for, especially if you're cooking for your family. You got to make things that they're going to love and to want to eat. And healthy food can taste amazing, right?
Definitely. I have like oven fried chicken in there. I have, mac and cheese. I already mentioned greens. I have some of the Southern favorites like gumbo, my seafood gumbo, jambalaya, things like that. And then also salads and, you know, just regular meals that you eat on a weekday night. I have something for the kids, you know, ways to sneak veggies into their meals as well. Because I don't know about you, but my kids, you know, 6 and 9, they have certain vegetables that they like, but they're not getting in enough. You know,
oh no!
so,
it's whenever a parent says, "Well, my 3-year-old eats wild salmon and Brussels sprouts," I'm like, you know what?
Right. Like, first of all, how much anyway? Like a couple bites of Brussels sprouts isn't enough. That's why you have to, you know, substitute. Even me. I mean, that's why I put green powders into my protein shakes because it's just not getting enough in.
Yeah, that's the biggest. I think people should have 5 to 10 servings of vegetables a day, which means you're going to have to sneak those suckers in all over the place. And yeah, my kids would eat romaine lettuce, baby carrots, and broccoli. That was like their repertoire. I go, okay, clearly there's more to be done here. So I want to throw one more thing out at you, and that is this. Share with everybody what the thing that you do every day, the one thing that you feel makes the biggest difference in your life.
Meditation. For sure. And sometimes it's just sitting down, thinking about my day, thinking about what I want to get accomplished. So the days that I'm not actually sitting there meditating, where you actually go into a still place, you know, and go into the zone, I actually just sit down and take time to myself and start the day, you know, organized, because I feel like however you start your day is how your day is going to be. The days that I wake up and I'm hitting the snooze button because I'm super tired and I'm like, oh God, I got to get up. I got to make breakfast with the kids, blah, 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 blah. You know, I already feel behind. I feel like that all day. You know, so, and it's just a stressful day. So that's one thing that I do every day for the most part. I try to do. And if I don't do it, you know, I wish that I had.
Yep. Then you're off your game. I know.
Yep.
All righty. Well, I want to remind everybody, we are going to put some amazing recipes in the show notes. So you will definitely want to go over to the show notes at jjvirgin.com/Laila, Laila. And we have lots of cool stuff in there. And before we end today, stay with me because I'm going to be answering a listener's question.
And JJ, one more thing before we go. I want to make sure that your listeners know that they can come visit me at my podcast, which is LailaAliLifestyle.com, and it's available on iTunes and Podcast One.
Awesome. We will be putting that in the show notes. We are going to have all your social media handles, the link to be able to grab the book. We will have your podcast because there's so many great resources that you have out there. And I know people will want to be involved in your social too, to be getting recipes and see what you're doing for workouts and all of that. So we will make sure we got everything. So make sure you grab those show notes that have everything so that you can jump in and start cooking like Laila, working out like Laila, living the Laila Ali lifestyle. So thank you so much, Laila. I appreciate it. And remember, stick with us after the break. I'm going to be answering a listener's question.
It's scary, but true. Sugar is hiding everywhere. In diet foods, packaged foods, dressings, and even sugar substitutes. It's not about cutting out all sugar, it's knowing which sugars to choose and which to lose. What if you could drop 7 hidden sugars, lose up to 10 pounds in just 2 weeks? JJ Virgin will show you how with a simple 4-step plan to cut cravings and rev up your metabolism to lose fat fast and forever. Visit jjvirgin.com/books and order the Sugar Impact Diet. You can shed up to 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Visit jjvirgin.com/books.
Welcome back. This is the time where I answer a listener's question. And today's question comes from Kaylee in Michigan. And she says, JJ, all right, I'm committed. I'm going to eat healthy, but here's the challenge. I've got to cook for my family and my kids are picky. What do I do? So first off, make sure you grab the show notes today, Kaylee, because this is perfect for you. Here's the bottom line, and Laila said it best. You know, kids by nature are probably pretty picky. You always hear about that one that's eating the Brussels sprouts and the wild salmon, but my kids were picky eaters, and here's what I learned. Couple things. Number one, exposure equals preference. They may not like something at the first time. Don't give up. Keep exposing them to it. Don't turn it into World War III at the dinner table, but just keep putting it out there. One of the easiest ways to get them to try things is to include them, involve them in the cooking. And yes, I know initially that can be a bit of a pain in the butt. They're in the kitchen, it's messy, but one of the most important things we can do, one of the most important life skills we can do for our kids is to teach them how to cook, and what they create, they will support. So I started that early on with just even in the grocery store, having them pick out a different vegetable they want to help me with. And then we made little treats. That was broccoli and asparagus. And so first of all, include them and have them keep trying things. Exposure equals preference. And I had one great nutrition mentor early on. He goes, if you have to put chocolate on the broccoli to get them to eat it, do it. But Laila mentioned, hey, you can throw spinach into a smoothie. That's one of my favorite places to start hiding vegetables. So you can I have a great lazy lasagna recipe that I make with almond noodles and almond ricotta, and you can throw in spinach and mushrooms in there. You can throw that into grass-fed meatballs or meatloaf, and they don't notice these things. So look for ways you can include them and ways that you can sneak things in, and then to continue to expose them to these things over and over and over again. And exposure equals preference. They will over time learn to like these things. So keep going with it. And if you'd like to submit a question, head on over to my Facebook page at JJ Virgin Official or at Instagram at JJ Virgin. We grab questions off of there, and I was looking for that perfect question for this week's podcast. So thank you again for that, Kaylee. And now big thanks are going to go to Danny Haybear. Is it Danny Haybear from the USA? And I always look at the reviews that we get on iTunes. By the way, the whole team does. We so appreciate it. So this is the gratitude portion of the show. And again, we read all of those. So I like to highlight one each week. And so this one, Danny says, I first heard you on Bulletproof Radio telling your story about your son, and I may or may not have instantly become a fan. It took me 6 months to discover you had your own show, and I've pretty much been listening nonstop ever since. Mostly listening to this podcast has helped me turn my attitude around. I had gotten into a place where I was willing to go through the motions, but I didn't feel energized by my decisions. You've inspired me to assert confidence in claiming responsibility for my health and wellness, and I feel excited about my health for the first time in a long time. I joined your fast fitness program, and my glutes are sore and my steps are logged. Yay! I added the yay. Mostly, thank you so much for your boundless energy, your positive attitude, and your encouragement, your real life approach. And because of you, I know it's possible to be 110%. And you know what, Danny, what makes me super, super excited about that is my through line for everything I do is that, when we take personal responsibility for health, like we can do anything. So I'm really excited about that. Now, to leave a review, head on over to iTunes. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. This is JJ Virgin, and I'm signing off. But first, big thank you for tuning in today.